Hello there, it's me, Sheikh Ameer Ali. Today I'm going to present on cultural implications arising from the role, behavior, and cross-border activities of multinational corporations (MNCs). These are contents what I'm going to be presenting today. Let's go to the next slide. Globalization and multinational corporations (MNCs). Globalization is trade without less barriers and less restrictions to move products and businesses worldwide, exchange services and labor across countries. Nowadays, the future of globalization is technology, which is playing a vital role in outsourcing work and manufacturing products globally, which is also resulting in exploiting labor rights and minimum wage and product human rights. For example, if a company is located in UK, for example, telecommunication company, and they have outsourced their workers in India, Pakistan, and emerging economies where they find cheap labor, and they live over there, but they are giving services to the people who are using the services in UK. So that's how they use cheap labor and they pay less to the workers. And this is how technology is playing the vital role in globalization. And these are the problems, some few problems due to MNCs. Then multinational corporations are enterprises which in more than one country own or control production or services, facilities, and activities that add value. For example, I give the example right now. Then purpose of MNCs to operate globally is to get economies of scale, moving to countries with less regulations, and to the countries where the MNCs they can make their own policies and regulations, because MNCs, multinational corporations, they are big companies, so they can decide in emerging economies. They can have talk with governments, and they can make certain laws and rules to specifically benefit them. Then they find cheap labor, and there's a big competition in the market. Let's go to the next slide. Then some a few problems arising from cross-border activities of multinational corporations. First of all, labor rights, corporate social responsibility, exploiting child labor. The latest global estimates from this is the report from ILO, which indicates 152 million children are in child labor. They're exploited. Then businesses, they are not following fair trade. There are sustainability issues arising from MNCs activities. Then religious traditions and policies, international company structures which are very different and vary from country to country. Then currency rates, then communication difficulties and cultural differences, political risks, international organization action. ILO has their 189 something, so they protect labor rights. They tend to give them proper salary, wages, and break times. Let's go to the next slide. I will give a few examples and explain in more detail. Then like globalization has opened many doors and worldwide and diversify the products and services. Then the problems arising, for example, foreign law and regulations. For example, in specific countries, in Muslim countries, it is illegal to sell unhalal meat, so it's obligatory for MNCs to sell halal meat in Muslim countries. Whereas in India, it's McDonald's. They were selling beef burger, and beef in India is considered illegal to eat in some specific regions because of their cultural and tradition norms. So they have to change their menu, and they introduce some vegetable products, and so then that's how they re-strategize because of the cultural implications arised. Then apart from this, giant cosmetic makeup companies, they are involved in child labor in India. The Nike, they were using cheap labor to manufacture saucer shoes, and the football as well. And obviously, it is against the law of Pakistan, but still, the big giant companies, they make their own rules. The companies set policies and rules according to their needs. Then fewer tax and trade tariffs. And in India, farmers are paid significantly less for the products they produce and are underpaid. And a big example of this is Coca-Cola. Once they dumped their waste into the fields in agriculture, and they destroyed their crops, and they claim it's a fertilizer for the plants. Then in 2010 in China, Apple manufacturing plant, that labor was exploited over there. They were working in poor conditions. Workers were sleeping while the machineries were on, and it was unethical from Apple. and they cannot do in other countries where there are rules and regulations to regulate everything. Then, moreover, in recruitment and selection, MNCs are responsible for choosing deserving candidates by looking at experience, qualification, and skills of employer rather than being stereotyped, and judging deserving candidates on religion, caste, country, cultural values, and tradition, and physical appearance. Let's go to the next slide. Multinational corporations example. For example, Coca-Cola, I just gave the example of dumping waste in Indian farms. Then cosmetic brands, they're using child labor. Fashion industry, child labor has been used. Then Google data privacy, the online, the big MNCs, they are stealing the data of consumers and cross-selling their products, exploiting the rights of consumer. Then Apple, poor working conditions. Nestle. So these are two examples which I find they are more, they are doing something for on child labor. So they are they are taking this initiative. They are providing child with education. So, and Body Shop as well, they specifically focus on fair trade, and no animal are used and harmed. And child labor, from my perspective, I think child labor should be regulated in poor countries, and there should be a special law for the child who needs to work to feed them. For example, in emerging economies, there is food and hunger. So it's I think it's they should have something while working, like not working very heavily or like hard work, light work, and they should also get basic education while working. So these are the responsibilities of MNCs they should consider. Let's move on to the next slide. So hot street cultural dimension framework in power distance countries, it's the superiors, they have power to recruit employees on the referrals on the of their family members, and on the other hand, the low distant power countries, the candidates are chosen on their skills and abilities. Individualism versus collectivism. In Western countries, more people are focused only on their growth rather than focus on collective growth as a group. On the other hand, Asian countries are more concerned working in groups and giving jobs to its family members. Then masculinity versus femininity. In masculine societies, countries, people are more focused on themselves and promote leisure activities and get time for themselves to exercise, to go gym, to watch movie. On the other hand, the countries with collectivism, their focus is success is equal to wealth, where people are more concerned on making money rather than spending time on leisure activities. Uncertainty avoidance. In countries like UK and US, people are ready to accept changes in workplace, and on the other hand, in Japan, Asian countries, people are not very much concerned to accept the changes. Long-term orientation. Western countries are more long-term oriented comparing to the other Asian countries. In Western countries, indulgence is promoted and people tend to enjoy more like, whereas in Asian countries, people are restrained and only focus on daily work, daily life routines. Let's go to the next slide. So this is comparison between countries, how they behave, and convergence versus divergence. Convergence is becoming more similar. Divergence is moving apart. Technology and global market leads to convergence. Cultural practices leads to divergence approach. Let's go to the next slide. Recruitment and training. The ethical process of recruitment and selection should be followed by the MNCs, and they should choose candidates based on skills and qualifications, provide complete training before sending employees to another country. Language barriers should be avoided. They should look before recruiting the candidate if he can communicate or no. Using personal data for recruiting, judging on race, religion, gender being stereotyped, salary, health and safety, awards and freedom to work, and ERPG model of different approaches. It should be used by MNCs more oftenly. Then diversity, cultural understanding, minimum wage, language barriers, respecting cultures and religions, food, working hours, holidays, weather, working conditions at workplace to avoid uncertainties in MNCs. Cross-border activities, cultural perspective should be considered by MNCs while entering in emerging markets. These are the references, and if you have any questions, feel free to email me. I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you so much.